the country's, that is, largest voting minority, which makes them a vitally important bloc of voters. They're sure to be listening next September when Univision and the University of Miami sponsor the first ever Spanish language presidential debate. Univision says rather than just simulcasting a debate intended for English-dominant audiences, our entire debate would focus primarily on the issues that matter most to Hispanics and be broadcast in their language. It makes them feel that the speaker respects their culture. So far, only 2 candidates, both Democrats who speak fluent Spanish, have accepted. So is anything wrong with a Spanish debate? That's a question for my Out in the Open panel right now. Miguel Perez is a syndicated columnist and a journalism professor. We're very careful when he's around when it comes to grammar. And Raul Reyes is a contributor to USA Today. Robert George is an associate editor for the New York Post editorial page. Welcome back, all of you.
Thank you.
So what do you think of this idea? You've already got voters out there voting on Spanish language ballots, and there are a bunch of Spanish language stations that have been simulcasting these presidential debates we heard so far. So why is this necessary?
Well, I think it's terrific because up to now in the immigration debate, so much of it has been driven by people on the right, conservative talk radio show hosts, people like Lou Dobbs, the Minutemen. I think this is a great time for Latinos to balance the equation. And I'm not saying that all Latinos necessarily support illegal immigration. We're just as divided as the rest of the country. But this is an opportunity for us to have our say, to add our voices.
Well, what difference is it if that debate takes place in English or Spanish?
In fact, you mentioned that there should be, they wanted a Latino debate to concentrate on Hispanic issues, of the issues. I wish they had that debate in English. I wish all debates in English would deal with minority issues a lot more often. That's number one. Number two, I see no problem with Univision or any Spanish network hosting a couple of these guys who want to come on and speak in Spanish. What's going to happen there, Paula, is they're going to discuss the issues. It's not going to be a real debate because it's not going to have all the other candidates. The other candidates would be foolish if they came on and tried to debate these guys through a translator, through an interpreter.
Well, sure. And then the point you've got bloggers out there making today, and here's what one of them had to say, that this is a very slippery slope. Quote, who decides which minority group gets a debate? Why not have an African-American specific debate on BET? How about a debate discussing only women's issues on Lifetime? How about a debate that focused solely on the issues of the Farm Belt?
Well, you know, I say, you know, the more debates, the more debates, the better. I, however, feel that as leaders and people who want to be leaders of the country, I think part of what they're doing is an education process, and I think since even though we do not have an English-only country, I think we do. It is still technically the national language, and I think the debates should be in English.
So wait, are you saying this idea compromises that in some way undermines English as the national language? Well,
in the sense that they are campaigning to become president of the United States, and the United States official language, it's a national language anyway, is English, because I think the best thing for all people is to learn English. I mean, if you go to foreign countries, the young people there are learning English because it's seen as the international language of business.
What's wrong with reaching out to other people? I mean, Hispanics, we are the fastest growing group in the country, but right now only I think 39% out of what, 41 million are eligible to vote.
So
what's wrong with that?
Continue arguing about that. I'm going to put a statistic on the screen, and people can soak up those numbers you're talking about.
This is why you said early on, you know, that they're the largest voting minority. They are actually the largest minority, but since they are not registered yet, the largest voting minority is still African Americans. But obviously you do want to get them.
Reach out to everybody. Well, you should not feel threatened by other languages. You mentioned foreign countries, people finding the need to learn English. In all those other countries, you know what they're doing? They're speaking 4 or 5 languages. Why should we close our minds to knowledge?
I have no problem with that. I do, however, feel though that the best way for Latinos obviously to succeed is to master English.
Look, the first thing Latinos recognize when they come to this country is that they have to learn English in order to succeed.
Right, but what message
there are
you
waiting lists at the English courses, waiting lists. These guys who are out in Congress complaining that Latinos don't want to learn English, don't fund the courses that are needed.
Well,
And
what
we're-
is
it's
what is
sending a
what is
great
wrong
message,
though?
sir.
What
You
is
know,
Yeah,
we're
what is the
what
message you
wrong
think
with-
it's sending?
It's sending a fantastic message. Number one of inclusion. I mean, you're from the New York Post. One of the things I liked about the New York Post, they have a tempo section in English and Spanish. Just this Sunday, they put out a whole special for the Puerto Rican Day Parade in English and Spanish. They're reaching out. They're involving more
What
people.
is wrong
What's
with
more
what is
American
wrong
than
with
involving more
Univision? What is
people
wrong
in
with
the
Univision
civic debate?
hosting a full-fledged Democratic presidential candidate or Republican debate in English with all of the candidates there? Why don't they do that?
I would agree with that, and I would tell you they should have a debate in English with Spanish translation, and then they could get all the
And
candidates
they
to
can
speak
focus.
in
They
English
can focus on
evenly.
immigration. They
for
can
the
focus on
candidates.
economics
Makes
and so
Because
forth.
if you do it the other way and you have other
The
candidates
two
who
who
don't
speak
show
Spanish have
up,
an advantage.
you're going to
Spanish
absolutely.
test anyway. As long as they include people, it has great resonance for our community, especially right now in the middle of the immigration debate.
It is interesting how many candidates are trying to learn Spanish right now, though, isn't it? What is all that all about? That pander, pander, pander?
Well, you know, McCain won the Republican debate, as far as I'm concerned, when Tom Tancredo was bashing immigrants,
Right.
and all of a sudden he turned around and said, "Muchas gracias."
And every single
was
one
wonderful.
of those, every single one of those candidates, even the ones like Mitt Romney who are against
He
people
won a lot of
speaking
Hispanic
Spanish,
votes
they
for
have
that song.
Spanish
Hispanic
websites.
votes.
Okay.
Every
Sadly,
single one of them.
unfortunately,
It's the
though,
way we
Yo
do
tengo
it.
que ir.
Adios.
Adios. Muchas gracias.
De nada.
Raul Reyes, thank you. Miguel Perez and Robert George. Please stick around. We're going to check back with all of you in just a little